faith are saying, look, we just want to make sure that we're able to have a conversation with the administration about some of the critical needs that we see that need to get fixed over the next few months. We recognize it's kind of absurd, and a lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut down the people's government over these disagreements, but just agree to negotiate with us in good faith on these issues. And of course, we're having that conversation with them. Then there's another category, people who say, give us everything we want or we're going to keep the government shut down. We just write those people off because they're not negotiating in good faith. And frankly, we don't need them. We've already got 3 more Democrats last night than I thought we would get. And I think it's because they recognize the illogic of the position of taking the entire American economy hostage because they don't get their policy priorities. So 3 moderate Democrats joined 52 Republicans last night. We need 5 more in order to reopen the government. And that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President. First 2 questions. Are there plans to meet Democratic leaders again in the coming days, or are you planning on plucking off senators one by one?
So that's the whole question?
No, I got a second.
Okay, go ahead and ask the second question.
So the president's been posting some images of Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer.
I saw.
Recently, you've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but what message does that send? Is it helpful to post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have good faith talks with him?
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even, poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop. And I've talked to the President of the United States about that. Now, to your first question, are we negotiating one-on-one? Are we negotiating in groups? Look, I will go to the U.S. Capitol right now and meet with Chuck Schumer or any Senate Democrat if it helps us reopen the government. Most of the conversations, in my experience at least, have been one-off. We're also, of course, relying on some of our Senate Republican colleagues who have good relationships across the aisle. We're going to do whatever we have to do is the answer. And I think it's tough to predict what shape this negotiation is going to take over the next few months. But I feel good about the fact that Democrats already realize privately the fundamental irrationality of their position. I hope that they're going to publicly acknowledge it and reopen the government. Right in the back, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You responded to a post on X, Chuck Schumer on the House floor back in 1996, railing against illegal immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded benefits. You said Chuck Schumer once recognized that it was disastrous to give illegal aliens rewards for breaking the law. Now he wants to shut down the government unless we reward illegal aliens for breaking the law. Why has Chuck Schumer changed his stance?
That's a good question. Actually, it's a very tough question. Asking me to get in the head of Chuck Schumer is not a place I particularly want to be, but my basic read on it is that the entire Democratic Party, the political leadership, not every Democrat nationwide, but the political leadership of their party has got it into their heads that the only way to be compassionate is to be compassionate to illegal aliens rather than American citizens. If you go back to what Bill Clinton was saying, even Barack Obama in some cases, what he was saying about illegal immigration 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would put them on the MAGA right based purely on their rhetoric around illegal immigration. So I don't know why they've gone so far to the left. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's bad for them politically. But our principle, all I can do is speak for the president that I serve and the country, the administration that I serve right now. We believe that the American people's government exists for the American people. That means the people who have the legal right to be here, and that's why we're fighting to reopen the government. And unfortunately, the Democrats are fighting to shut it down for the benefit of illegal aliens. And I'll take a couple more, and then I'll let Caroline. I'll go back to my day job so Caroline can go back to hers. All right. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just going back to the sombrero, you said that the president is joking, but Hakeem Jeffries says that these memes were racist. What's your response to that? And just if I may briefly go off topic, Secretary Hegseth yesterday made an
What did he say?
No more beardos. Beards. Oh, sorry, it's my accent. Just wanted your response to that.
I didn't see that particular comment. I thought Pete gave a hell of a speech, and a speech that really is just oriented around returning the American military to the very high standards that it has had for virtually its entire history until Joe Biden came and decided to lower standards. I think it was bad for our military and it was bad for our troops. When I was a young United States Marine, I did not have a beard. I am now the vice president, so I get to do what I want to do. But I think Pete's trying to re-implement high standards, and that's a very good thing. On the sombrero thing, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries said it was racist, and I know that he said that. And I honestly don't even know what that means. Like, is he a Mexican American that is offended by having a sombrero meme? I mean, I saw one of the major TV stations put the meme up and then say, this is AI generated. And he had like the curly animated mustache too. It's like, do you really not realize the American people recognize that he did not actually come to the White House wearing a sombrero and a black curly animation mustache? Like, give the country a little bit of credit. We're all trying to do a very important job for the American people. The President of the United States likes to have a little bit of fun when he's doing it, and I think that's okay. I'll take one more question.
Mr. Vice President, in every previous shutdown, workers have been furloughed, not laid off. So why does the president want to fire some workers and not just furlough them? Why is this shutdown any different?
Well, first of all, we haven't made any final decisions about what we're going to do with certain workers. What we're saying is that we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on. We're going to have to take extraordinary measures to ensure the people's government operates, again, not perfectly, because it's not going to operate perfectly in the midst of a shutdown, but operate as well as it possibly can. And I think that the Democrats, if they're so worried about the effect this is having on the American people, and they should be, what they should do is reopen the government, not complain about how we respond to the fact that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government in the first place. Thank you, Caroline.
And that was Vice President J.D. Vance addressing the press at the White House press briefing yesterday, talking about the government shutdown. We are now in day 2 of the federal government shutdown. Meanwhile, reaction continuing to pour in on both sides. This is from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries saying Donald Trump and corrupt Republicans recklessly shut down the federal government, and the American people know it. Cancel the costs, lower the costs, save healthcare. This is a live look right here of the Capitol as coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We are expecting to hear from House GOP leadership on the second day of the government shutdown. The House not in session today as it is Yom Kippur. So no votes from the Senate or the House are going to happen today. The earliest that could happen would be tomorrow. So we are continuing to follow this. And you heard Vice President Vance talking about that President Trump might take this opportunity to reshape the federal workforce by firing workers and having cuts to programs important to Democrats. So White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt also saying during that briefing that layoffs were, quote, imminent. The Office of Management and Budget announcing that it was putting on hold roughly $18 billion of infrastructure funds for New York's subways and Hudson Tunnel projects in the hometown of the Democratic leaders of the U.S. House and Senate. So we did want to share that with you as today is the second day of the shutdown and there is a stalemate because of health care. So we did want to share that with you and also let you know that in just about 40 minutes or so, we are expecting to hear from House Minority Leader Mike Johnson and others in the leadership of the Republican Party. We will be stepping away for a brief break. We are going to be continuing our coverage in just a moment. Before we do so, though, more from House Speaker Mike Johnson saying here's the simple reason the government is shut down. 1, House Republicans passed a clear CR over 2 weeks ago to keep the government open and continue our work for the American people. 2, Senate Democrats blocked it to give illegal aliens free health care and protect themselves from their radical base. That's it. So some words there from House Speaker Mike Johnson. We are expecting to hear from him and other GOP leaders coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to step away for a break, continuing our coverage in just a moment. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Stephanie Quinn. Time right now is 9:20 Eastern, 6:20 Pacific. We continue to follow breaking news in the United Kingdom, as this is a live look at the breaking news scene where police say that 2 people have been killed, 3 others injured after a synagogue attack. And a little bit more information in this, all of this taking place in northern London on the holiest day of the Jewish year. The suspect, believed to also be dead after being shot by officers, that could not be immediately confirmed because of concerns that the suspect had an explosive on him. That's according to the Greater Manchester Police. The bomb disposal team was at the scene, and you can see at this hour still a very heavy police presence here at the synagogue. All of this taking place as people were gathering at the synagogue on Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement and the most solemn day in the Jewish calendar. Greater Manchester Police say that they were called to the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Crumpsall shortly after 9:30 a.m. local time by a member of the public who said that he had witnessed a car being driven towards members of the public, also saying that one man had been stabbed. And I also wanted to share this with you as we are expecting the arrival of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to meet with individuals and also address the deadly synagogue attack. This is a live look at 10 Downing Street. This is the residence of Prime Minister Keir Starmer. We have not yet seen him arrive, but he was in Copenhagen, Germany, to meet with the European Council there to talk about national security measures, now returning to London to chair a COBRA meeting after the attack on the synagogue in Manchester this morning. That is where 2 people have died, 3 others seriously injured. Police do believe that the suspect has also died. Meanwhile, before his arrival here in London, Starmer sharing this, saying, quote, "I'm appalled by the attack at a synagogue in Crumpsall. The fact that this has taken place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, makes it all the more horrific. My thoughts are with the loved ones of all those affected, and my thanks go to the emergency services and all of the first responders." Now, at this hour, we haven't really heard much from police when it comes to exactly who that suspect is. Another live look here at the scene where 2 people died and 3 others seriously wounded in that synagogue attack. And we are continuing to hear and receive responses from lawmakers, not just in the United Kingdom, but all around the world. This is from Ambassador Stevens, the U.S. ambassador to the UK, saying, "Harriet and I are horrified by the attack at a synagogue in Manchester that has happened on Yom Kippur. The holiest day in the Jewish calendar is abhorrent. We pray for the recovery of all those injured. We pray our thoughts are with their families and loved ones. Our thanks to the brave first responders and emergency services." So we are continuing to follow this. And of course, we will bring you the very latest from UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer as he is now returning from Copenhagen, Germany, back to the United Kingdom. A live look at 10 Downing Street, which is where he resides. Any live statement, any live update from Prime Minister Starmer, we, of course, will bring that to you. And also, speaking of Copenhagen, Germany, I did want to share this live look. This is a live look from Copenhagen. This is where the European political community is meeting right now to talk about a number of international security concerns, including the ongoing war in Ukraine. You can see that the media is stationed right here. World leaders are going to be lining up at various points in time to speak to the media. And so we did want to bring you this live look and, of course, bring you any live statements from world leaders as they discuss all of these matters with the media right here. We're also expecting to have a briefing a little bit later on from leaders as well. So we did want to share that with you, as we do have a live look from Copenhagen, Germany. And of course, we will bring those to you when they get underway. In the meantime, I also wanted to share this with you before we step away for a brief break. And I did want to share this. Which event would you like to watch? These are two United Nations events underway right now. The first with the Human Rights Council, and happening right now. The Human Rights Council is discussing matters involving Haiti, Central African Republic, Somalia, and Libya. So that is the very first event that is happening right now. The second is the United Nations Commission on Narcotic Drugs, talking about the public health responses to drug use, specific health challenges, and access to controlled medication. So that is the discussion happening at the United Nations on narcotic drugs. It's a live poll right now, so all you have to do is scan the QR code on the upper right-hand side of your screen. You can let us know which of the live events that you would like to see after the break. So we are going to stay on this just for a moment to give you the opportunity to vote. But these are the two live events going on right now, both involving the United Nations. The very first talking about the Human Rights Council. The council is meeting right now to talk about an update on Haiti. They have been plagued by gang violence, and so we did want to have that. We also have an expert talking about Central African Republic. Somalia is also up for discussion, and Libya. Meanwhile, the United Nations also speaking on narcotic drugs there as well. So we did want to give you the opportunity to vote live right here on Live Now from Fox, both of those getting underway. And what we'll do is after the break, we're going to put this up once again to allow you the opportunity to vote, after which we will be dipping in at least briefly to one of these live events. We're going to just keep this up for just one moment longer. All right, so we are going to be stepping away for a brief break, heading to the UN at one of these live events in just a moment. We'll be right back. share this live look with you. This just coming into our live now from Fox Studios. And as we had been mentioning, coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern time, this is an event that we will be taking live in its entirety. This is where House Republican leadership are going to be talking about the second day of the federal government shutdown. So you can see that they are just starting to put up the podium and the microphones right here. House Speaker Mike Johnson, along with other leaders, will be sharing their thoughts and their reaction to the ongoing government shutdown. And you can see that we do have a ticker there on this banner. 1 day, 9 hours, 30 minutes, and coming up on 45 seconds. That is how long the government has currently been shut down, impacting a lot of different departments and, of course, non-exempt employees who are now currently furloughed. And that has been having a nationwide impact as many projects are now stalled. So we did want to share that with you. In the meantime, though, right before the break, we did have our viewers, we invited you to vote on the next live event that you would like to see before the House GOP leadership takes to the podium to talk about the government shutdown. And I wanted to share the results with you. So we appreciate everyone who has been voting. This is the results right here. 68% of you want to watch the United Nations discuss the issue of narcotic drugs, the public health response to drug use, the health challenges, and also the access to controlled medicines. Meanwhile, 32% of you want to watch the UN Human Rights Council talking about a number of international crises, including gang violence in Haiti. So we are going to close the poll right now with the 68% majority on narcotic drugs. We appreciate everyone, all of the hundreds of you that have been voting right here. We appreciate it. We really take your opinions into consideration, and that is why we often give you the opportunity to vote on the next live event. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to head over to the UN. This is happening in Geneva, talking about narcotic drugs. And we are going to also be monitoring any other live events and breaking news that we will be sharing with you. But for now, let's head to Geneva live, where the UN is talking about drugs.
The survey in 2021, which is very interesting. It looked at the online purchases of drugs on different outlets, I would say. So most of them, nearly 2/3, were from social media. The dark net was 28% and internet shops 8%. And here we see that among all online purchases of drugs, social media is really the most used. The likelihood to purchase drugs on social media is much higher than on the darknet for all drugs, except for NPS, for which online shops and the darknet are more used as sources of drugs at retail level. But I think what is very important to highlight here, that traditional markets, I mean the market in the street, remain the main source of purchase for all the drugs. So even if social media is increasing and cannabis is a lot sold on social media, the traditional outlet remain the preferred one. And still this survey from Ireland, here I wanted to highlight how this is concerning young people. So here we see that the use of social media is highest among 18-24 years old. This is what I circled in red for cannabis products, both resin and herb, but also for cocaine and for ecstasy. And this is really of concern because this is an age that is particularly vulnerable to the use of drugs. And in my last slide, I wanted to talk a bit about the darknet. So on the darknet too, the largest proportion of drug sales is related to cannabis products, so as in social media. But what we see is that the use of the dark web for drug purchases is comparatively rather small compared to purchases on social media. And the gap is increasing. Is increasing why? Because there's been a stagnation of drug purchases on the dark web, while the purchases on social media have been really rising very fast. And also because on the dark web, basically, there's been a shift towards small wholesale sales. By small wholesale sales, we mean sales that are more than $1,000. And as opposed to retail drug sales, which basically happen on social media and not on the darknet anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Carpentier. I now invite Mr. Yared Brown from the Drugs Laboratory and Scientific Services branch to provide a short introduction on the topic, increasing preparedness to address emerging drugs threats. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we've heard about a range of emerging drug threats across the past 3 days, seeing increasing challenges posed by NPS, adulterated drugs, falsified medicines, pharmaceutical misuse, digital marketplaces as some of these examples. And the potential lethality of highly potent synthetic opioids where micrograms can be a lethal dose is alarming. The emergence of NPS opioids outside of North America is requiring countries to prepare like never before, with nitazenes reported in 38 countries to date in all continents. The emergence of potent NPS in drug markets are often associated with clusters of hospitalizations or deaths. And sadly, we have seen numerous examples of this across the globe in recent years. On a more promising note, we've seen development in national early warning systems adapting to these new challenges of a rapidly changing and complex drug market. And through collaborative networks spanning law enforcement, health services and civil society, the rapid recognitions of clusters or trends in drug-related harms provides the opportunity to intervene and prevent outbreaks and protect the community. Early warning system best practice includes a range of measures that aid preparedness to respond to emerging drug threats. And the considerations for these include having a designated focal point, access to timely confirmatory laboratory analysis, surge capacity, multidisciplinary risk assessment and communication processes, standard operating procedures, data sharing agreements or legislation supporting rapid information exchange, secure data platforms, and multidisciplinary scenario-based simulations to be in place to reduce the time to respond to emerging drug threats. And we're now seeing examples where the identification to response times are cut from months to days, or in some examples, hours. And the quicker that we can act, the more lives that will be saved. UNODC Laboratory and Scientific Services are providing a range of services to support preparedness to address emerging drug threats. And this includes manuals, training, and the International Quality Assurance Program that's delivered to hundreds of laboratories to ensure member states have the capacity to identify controlled substances, as well as address future challenges by guiding structure elucidation to identify new substances. UNODC's Early Warning Advisory on NPS collates data from almost 500 different sources to ensure that information on these new substances, including analytical, toxicological, pharmacological, and legal response data, is shared and accessible to all. Collaboration across local, national, regional and global early warning systems is needed now more than ever, and UNODC remains ready to assist member states and process data from regional networks such as the EUDA in real time. Another continuing emerging threat is that drug markets around the world continue to witness the proliferation of precursor chemicals used for the manufacture of drugs. Challenges exist with attempts by criminals to bypass existing controls through the design and use of new, uncontrolled precursors, together with an increase in the sophistication of clandestine laboratories used for the manufacture of drugs.
We are listening there to the UN Commission talking about narcotic drugs. And what's so interesting as part of this presentation is they've been seeing an alarming rise in drug purchases on the dark web, but also social media platforms. So this is an international community talking about how to combat the rise in illegal drugs and narcotics as manufacturers are becoming more savvy. We're going to continue with this live conversation in Geneva on narcotic drugs. This is the United Nations. We're going to continue that in just a moment. We'll be right back. from Fox. Before we head back to the United Nations talking about narcotic drugs and the use of the dark web and social media for people to make purchases of these drugs, I did want to share this live look with you inside the Capitol building. This is where we are expecting to hear from House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republican leaders at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So in a little over 15 minutes, that is when this is set to get underway, as we are now in day 2 of the federal government shutdown with potentially no end in sight, as Republicans and Democrats are refusing to come to a compromise. The Democrats saying their sticking point is Medicaid and health care. We do see the live ticker there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. That is just how long this shutdown has been going on. 1 day, 9 hours, 42 minutes, almost coming up on 43 minutes. So we are going to be bringing this to you at 10 a.m. Eastern time without commercial interruption. In the meantime, though, we do want to head back to Vienna, Austria. That is where that discussion is happening when it comes to drugs on an international basis, the challenges, the concerns, and how they are addressing this crisis. Let's head back there right now.
And so the WHO regulations on expert advisory panels and committees are relevant in this respect. All the procedures that govern the expert committees and panels are used in this respect. And in this particular, with the so-called Blue Book, the guidance on WHO review of psychoactive substances for international control is the guiding manual. And in this, of course, this is put in place to operationalize the mandate given to WHO through the conventions. The Blue Book, as I said, these procedures were first initiated in 1980, and the review were also revised by the WHO Executive Board in 2010. But I emphasize all based on the 2 conventions and implementing the mandate of the convention. And these procedures prescribe phases of the review. That is a pre-review to see whether there is enough grounds and evidence that would support a critical review, and then proceeding to the critical review. And then, of course, it also provides how each of these reviews may be initiated. Talking about initiation of a review, this can be initiated by member states, a member state to the convention. And in this case, here, the COCA review was initiated by notification of a party to the convention and concerning the scheduling of COCA leaf. The review can also be initiated by the CND, where there has been an explicit request from CND to review a substance. There can be discussions from the CND and they say, please initiate the review of this the substance. But also, it can be initiated by WHO through using information brought to WHO's attention that a substance is clandestinely manufactured or especially serious risk to public health and society, and of no recognized therapeutic use has been noticed, and this can be brought by any party to the convention. So these are the different ways in which critical review can be initiated, and in this respect, the COCA leaf was initiated by a member state. So in June 2023, WHO received an official notification from a member state through the UN Secretary General to conduct a critical review of COCA leaf. So then what is the scope? The critical review of COCA leaf includes COCA leaf and preparations of COCA leaf as defined by the 1961 Single Convention or Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. And that includes coca leaf powder and coca tea. So coca leaf and its preparations as defined in the convention. And here it means, coca leaf means under the convention that the leaf of the coca bush except a leaf from which all ecgonine and cocaine and any other ecgonine alkaloids have been removed. But in terms of coca leaf preparations containing more than 0.1% of cocaine and made directly from coca leaf should be considered to be coca leaf. Of importance to understand, based on the request and these definitions, the critical review that is ongoing excludes cocaine and preparations of cocaine, including coca paste, which are currently controlled separately under Schedule 1 of the 1961 Single Convention. WHO is following the blue book that I have referred to, that is the guidance on the WHO review of psychoactive substances for international control. And this critical review report format will follow the standard ECDD report headings. When we look at the critical review, the report will cover and will use published and unpublished scientific data. We did engage independent reviewers that were selected by a panel through an objective and worldwide call for proposals that were then selected and engaged to do this work. We also use other systems of the UN system through the UN early warning systems. Any information that comes from this has also been used in the review. And of course, other partners, including the European Union Drug Agency, and of course, the Uppsala Monitoring Center on Adverse Medicine Reactions has also provided information that is critical for this review. We also use data from the database of substandard and falsified medicine that is also operated and managed by WHO. In addition to this, we do send, and we did send to member states a questionnaire, the so-called member state questionnaire, and this was sent to all countries. And the purpose of this member state questionnaire is to collect additional evidence about the substances reviewed, which is often lacking in the scientific literature. So in this case, again, we sent a questionnaire to member states on the coca leaf review. And in case any information, the countries had access to any information not in published literature, that was also a channel to receive this information. This data has been received and is requested and approved on approved uses, non-medical use, intoxications linked to the drug, route of administration, formulations of the drug, seizures, control measures, and capacity to detect substances. This questionnaire is also available in 6 UN languages. Sorry, I think I went too fast.
We are listening in to a live report from the United Nations Commission on Narcotic Drugs, talking about the challenges and the progress made. Right now, they're talking about the coca leaf and cocaine right here. Earlier, though, they were talking about how people across the globe are now using the dark web and social media to buy illegal drugs. So they're taking a look at all concerns and the challenges happening right now across the world. We are going to step away once more, continuing our live coverage after that. Stay with us.